One, a Star Wars story finally out in cinemas, it only makes sense for me to wrap up this year's Star Wars book reviews by taking a look at the official prequel novel, an eerie cautionary tale of ambition, betrayal, and the birth of the Death Star. Catalyst by James Luceno. During the final years of the Clone Wars, the Republic and the Separatists are locked in an arm race of epic proportions, each side trying to one-up the other by building more and more deadly technology in an attempt to win the war. The Republic begins working on a moon-sized battle station based on a Separatist design, hoping to complete its construction before their enemies can. Among the members of this elite operation is Lieutenant Commander Orson Krennic, who offers to recruit one of the brightest scientific minds in the galaxy, fellow scientist and old friend Galen Erso, to provide them with a much-needed breakthrough in energy enhancement. After Krennic rescues Galen, his wife Lyra, and their newborn daughter Jin from a Separatist kidnapping, the Erso family is deeply in his debt. He offers Galen an extraordinary opportunity to continue his scientific studies by aiding the Republic in their project, with every resource put utterly at his disposal. Although Galen and Lyra are initially optimistic that his energy research will be used only for the greater good, they have yet to realise that Krennic has a much grander, more dangerous vision in mind than anything they could possibly imagine. And as they slowly uncover the true nature of both their benefactor and the Empire's mysterious plans, it's up to the Ersos to untangle the web of deception in order to save themselves. But will their efforts be enough to save the entire galaxy from the impending Death Star? Now, from what I can tell, James Luceno is probably already a very familiar name for many other Star Wars fans, having previously written novels for the expanded universe. Now, I haven't read any of those books, or any Star Wars expanded universe books for that matter, although I did manage to read his first officially canon novel, Tarkin, last week while preparing for this series. Now, I had high expectations before reading this book, as I always quite liked Grand Moff Tarkin in the first movie, and I was really interested to see how this character study of him was going to turn out. But unfortunately, this particular story I personally didn't find to be quite as interesting as I thought it would be. The pacing was a little off, there was a bit too much exposition for my liking, and I really didn't care about any of the side characters, they were mostly just dull. I recall zoning out a lot when I originally read this book, which is a shame because I really wanted to like it, and I know it's supposed to be great, but I ultimately decided that maybe Luceno's writing style just wasn't for me. Nonetheless, I was still very interested in Catalyst because of it being a tie novel to Rogue One. I always like seeing all the events in between Star Wars movies. I love seeing the universe grow, that sort of thing. And so I decided to give Luceno a second chance. And even though there were occasional moments where I skimmed through pages of exposition and scenes that kept telling me things I already knew, and I kept forgetting the names of one or two minor characters or their roles in a story, I ultimately found Catalyst to be a surprisingly enjoyable follow-up. I say as I spend the first part of this video insulting James Luceno's writing, but just hear me out. First off, let's start by talking about the joint main characters of this story, Galen Erso and Orson Krennic, who are both very interesting yet very different people, and their relationship makes up a great deal of the novel. These two go back to way before the Clone Wars, where they were both students together at the Futures program, which was this sort of college developed by the Empire to find the brightest scientific minds and bring them into the fold. Most of the students there, including Krennic, went on to become scientists and work for the Empire, although Galen turned down that chance because he didn't want his knowledge to be used for military purposes. Galen Erso is an extremely fascinating and complex character. He is a gifted scientist who prefers to work neutrally and cares little about the grand scheme of things in the galaxy outside of his studies. It's stated early in the story that whenever Galen's working, he tends to zone out, like his mind goes where other people can't follow, more or less. And he doesn't have a great facility for talking to other people, so Lyra sometimes has to act act as his mouthpiece to the other scientists, as seen in the very first scene. I'm pretty sure this was completely unintentional, but as an autistic person, I liked seeing those kind of autistic traits being implanted onto Galen. I thought that was very neat and made him more fun and enjoyable personally for me to read. At the beginning of the novel, we see Galen and his then pregnant wife Lyra on the neutralist planet Volt, where they're researching using crystals to provide sustainable energy. But then the Semprists arrive and immediately take over the planet, and when Galen refuses to work for them, they imprison both the Ersos. While in prison, Lyra gives birth to their daughter Jin. And when Krennic frees them and offers Galen to work for the Empire on this top secret project, which he claims is for energy purposes, just like his normal scientific research work, Galen jumps at the chance, and both members of the Erso family are very optimistic. Galen is devoted to his science and to his research, and he does care about Lyra and Jin very much, and he only simply wants to do what's right. And he thinks that by working for the Empire, he's doing an amazing thing, and his energy research work is going to help millions of people. But of course, that doesn't quite go according to plan. I'm going to talk more about Galen's character arc much later on, because it's very fascinating, but it talks about stuff that happens later in the book. But first, I really want to talk about Orson Krennic, because he is such a brilliant villain, and I cannot wait to see how Ben Mendelsohn portrays him on screen in Rogue One. Krennic is cunning and manipulative, he's full of pride and desperate to bring the Death Star to life by any means. He's great at surrounding himself with brilliant minds around him, but his main goal in mind is to exploit the genius of others to elevate his own status. To Krennic, the Death Star is not just some weapon that's going to potentially murder billions of lives. It's just a simple project that will help him to get further ahead in the Empire. He's not this huge over-the-top villain really, but he does have this somewhat enjoyable personality, and the way that he weaves the Ersos into his web is very compelling to watch and makes him genuinely threatening at points. He also has this slight rivalry with Tarkin, who also has his own subtle storyline, because at first he is reluctant to embrace this military-industrial complex, but by the end of the book he of course becomes deeply involved in the whole thing, because he realises what the Death Star will come to represent for the Empire in the long term, and he's always been devoted to their cause, so he usually puts their goals before any personal ambitions of his own. Whereas Krennic comes across as someone who will destroy absolutely anyone to advance in the ranks. His only concern is what other people can do and how their talents or abilities can help him out to achieve his own means. At one point, Krennic provides Galen with kyber crystals for his operations. Kyber crystals were originally used to make Jedi lightsabers, but the Empire has access to them now after the Jedi Order was quote-unquote disbanded. And Krennic successfully convinces him that his research will go into developing this universal renewable energy design which the Emperor will share with the entire galaxy. I would like to apologise now if some of my thoughts on this story are a little fractured or not fitting in a proper category or structure. Full disclosure, I only just started writing this review the night before shooting, and I'm literally just going by notes at the moment, so sorry, please bear with me. The Clone Wars are originally the main focus, the main world of Catalyst, because it seems to me that's the original reason the Empire was building the Death Star, although it's heavily implied at a point that Palpatine was probably planning this brilliant super weapon idea for many years even before the Clone Wars. And despite the Clone Wars actually coming to an end halfway through the novel, it only makes things easier for the Empire and their Death Star plans. There's quite a few references to prequel characters like Master Meta, or things like the Separatist movement originally led by Count Dooku. I really enjoyed seeing all these characters and elements of both the classic Star Wars films, the prequel trilogy, and all the newer movies all combined into this one book. It just felt like with this franchise, and also a little bit with this series, everything was coming together full circle. Now, the supporting characters, I admit, like I said earlier, I kept zoning out a little bit. It's my fault personally. It's just that after reading like Chuck Wendig and Claudia Gray, I've been so used to more emotionally driven Star Wars stories. James Luceno's writing style was a huge leap for me, as you could probably imagine. Although I eventually got used to it. There's this new character called Haz Orbit, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who was originally a bounty hunter, who was originally recruited by Krennic to help him free the Ersos, but eventually he grows tired of the Imperial cause once he sees who they really are, and he eventually assists in helping the Ersos escape from Krennic's clutches, while secretly fighting back from the Empire from the inside. It's a shame a little bit that this character only appears in this book so far. I'm not sure if they're going to do anything else with him in Rogue One, because I thought he was quite interesting and there could have been more stories to tell with him, or at least I hope there will be. But another character who's in this book, who I know is definitely going to be in Rogue One, is Saul Guerrera. He has this brief cameo near the very end, and he also helps the Ersos during their escape. I guess we'll probably learn more about him in the film, but the character who's the heart of this story is definitely Galen's wife Lyra, who's a former surveyor and cartographer. She's a very spiritual person. She very much believes in the Force. She cares about her husband very much, and she shows a great amount of concern for him much later on, as his work for the Empire starts to put a toll on their relationship, to the point where he doesn't even spend time with his own daughter much, whereas Lyra has been going off on her own investigations with other scientists and has seen the true destructive nature of the Empire and how they've been ravaging all these worlds for their resources. Galen, on the other hand, is more focused on his work, and he's still so convinced that he's doing the right thing that he doesn't realise that his research is actually going to do way more harm than good. So Lyra's the one who has to snap him out of it and make him realise the true nature of the Empire and how they're using his energy research. Galen's character arc, and to a much lesser extent Krennic's own personality, really goes to show how people can be seduced into believing that they are doing the right thing while trying to rationalise their actions to other people and also to themselves. But eventually Galen does realise what Lyra is saying, and the two make escape from their home on Coruscant during the climax of the book, which is very tense. And even as someone who knows that these characters are going to make it out alive, as they both appear in the flashback scenes in Rogue One, I still genuinely had no idea what was going to happen next, or if the Ersos were going to be alright. The writing really goes up a notch during the final act of the book, as everything starts crashing down and all the pieces fit together. The Ersos realise what Krennic is doing, and Krennic realises what the Ersos are doing, and it's all amazing. But eventually they do manage to escape, and the book ends with them arriving on the planet that we see occasionally in the Rogue One trailer, Lamu. What happens next? I guess I'll have to wait to watch Rogue One to find out. But we do get this sweet little passage at the very end of the novel from Jin's point of view. Jin watched them and listened. She didn't know what the Empire was or who the Empire was, but Mama and Papa and Saw didn't like it. In some way, the Empire had made them leave behind all her toys and Mama's and Papa's clothes and other things. And McPhee too, who would have nothing to do without them there. But she felt warm and safe in Papa's arms, and Saw was a new friend. Mama and Papa were good, and so was Saw, and so was she. If they tried hard enough, maybe they could find the home they were looking for. Aw, Jin's so cute. I'm sure that after this little adventure, nothing bad will ever happen to her or her family ever again. In conclusion, Catalyst is a very thorough, very detailed story. If you're not into books like this one, the kind that James Luceno usually writes, then you're probably going to have a hard time with it. But I personally enjoyed it. I especially liked getting lots of new details about Star Wars and all of the interesting characters. Galen, Lyra and Krennic are all very fascinating and complex. Everybody's different story arcs definitely captivated me, and I was super invested. Lots of technical information and exposition as usual, but it didn't make me zone out completely the same way Tarkin did. I admire this book for how it attempts to open a huge gap in the saga's history and goes into great detail about how the Death Star was built and why it took so long. But despite us seeing the beginning of the Empire's horrible regime over the galaxy, we also see the first independent seeds of what will eventually become the rebellion, starting with individuals and spreading to isolated systems that want to preserve their independence. But even as hope lies on the horizon, something much darker is heading towards the galaxy. Can anyone stop it? How will they stop it? Go to the cinemas and see Rogue One this week. And on that funny marketing note, even though I'm not really being paid for this video, so why am I even talking? I don't know. Thanks for watching. Please like and comment on this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and why not check out my previous Star Wars book reviews right here. I can't believe I've been doing this channel for over a year now. It's been great. But until next time, this is Poindexta, wishing you all a happy holidays, and hope you all see Rogue One. I'm going to go see it right now. Can't wait. Bye.